Ukraine is the enemy of this country. Ukraine is our enemy, being funded by the Democrats. I will stress this again. One of the greatest enemies of our nation right now is Ukraine. They are expanding this war. Now, don't get me wrong. I know you've got criminal elements of the U.S. government pushing them and guiding them and telling them what to do. Ukraine is now accused, a German warrant issued for blowing up the Nord Stream pipeline, triggering this conflict. Ukraine is the greatest threat to this nation and to the world. We should rescind all funding and financing, pull out all military support, and we should apologize to Russia.
Ayo, the Ruskies are back at it again, aren't they? A DOJ indictment unsealed on Wednesday, yesterday that is, alleged a Tennessee content creation company was the tool of a team of Russian propagandists used to infiltrate US audiences with Kremlin-backed messaging. This company happens to be no other than TENET, the house of sort of bottom-of-the-barrel commentators such as Dave, I have no self-respect, Rubin, Benny, if I tweet about something else, this entire situation will disappear, Johnson, Lauren, the Nazi queen of DGG Southern, and Tim, is it civil war time yet? Please, Daddy, Paul. The company itself is not named directly in the indictment, so it is important you keep that in mind, but we do have some context clues to go off of, so strap on in, because the fucking Kremlin is back at it again, with covert operations, fake identities, and millions of dollars being fed to useful idiots who might turn out to be content creators you respect. In terms of the context clues, they are actually incredibly straightforward. So for starters, the indictment claims the company refers to itself as a network of heterodox commentators that focus on Western political and cultural issues, which is verbatim the About section of Tenet Media's YouTube channel. The indictment also states that it's a Tennessee company that was incorporated around January 19, 2022, which matches the records from the Tennessee Secretary of State's office. The indictment also mentions 2 US online commentators being deceived by the founders of Tenet, and while it doesn't name them, it says that they have respectively over 2.4 million subs and 1.3 million subs, which matches Timotheus Paul and either Benny Johnson or Dave Rubin, because they both hover around that number. Now, as far as I'm concerned, that's plenty enough to arrive at the conclusion that this is in fact Tenet, and if you happen to disagree, then I mean, you're a bit of a fucking tool, but it's a free world that we live in. Doing my regular Googling and perusing of the internet, I found this infographic right here that I think is kind of worthwhile for me to show you and walk you through so that you have a better understanding of what happened. On the left-hand side, you have the bubble of Russian government. RT stands for Russia Today, which is a media org that basically spreads Kremlin propaganda at the beck and call of the government. Important here are 2 employees of Russia Today, Elena Afanasieva and Konstantin Kalashnikov. I will not comment on going into business dealings with a fella named Kalashnikov and not getting Sussy Baka vibes. These 2 were in direct contact with another couple, Lauren Chen and her husband, Liam Donovan, who are the founders of Tenet Media. Liam I know nothing about, whereas Chen is a D-tier YouTuber who's only really known for, I want to say, 2 clips, where in one she says that women shouldn't have a right to vote, and in the other one she says she doesn't like democracy. Pretty standard stuff for Putin stands, really. It's kind of a fucking wonder that it took this long for people to figure out what's going on. But as you can see, that's pretty basic, but it's the overview of what happened. If you want the full story, you can read the indictment, and we have a nice little summary at the bottom where it says that the founders knew, founders being Lauren and Liam. And from what we know, the commentators were useful idiots. They never thought it was suspect that Lauren Chen, again a D-tier YouTuber, was able to pay them hundreds of thousands of dollars a month. Now, following this bombshell of an indictment, all of the main heroes of this story went onto Twitter and started covering their asses, understandably so really. So we got written statements from Tim Paul, Benny Johnson and Dave Rubin. I'll now read those in full, and we're going to start off with the shittiest one, which is Benny's, and it goes something like this. A statement on the leaked DOJ indictment today. A year ago, a media startup pitched my company to provide content as an independent contractor. Our lawyers negotiated a standard, arm's-length deal which was later terminated. We are disturbed by the allegations in today's indictment, which make clear that myself and other influencers were victims in this alleged scheme. My lawyers will handle anyone who states or suggests otherwise. That was a pretty standard boilerplate take, rather bitch-made if you ask me, but my expectations weren't exactly high to begin with. He threatens legal action, he claims innocence. The only interesting part here is the usage of phrase leaked DOJ indictment, which might be nothing, but it also might be a classic attempt at discrediting the information, because that's the exact same thing that Tim Pool did, which I'll talk about a little bit later. It wasn't leaked. This is an official release. There is no leaking here. This is like proper information, you know what I mean? Anywho, moving on to Dave Rubin. He says, statement on the DOJ indictment. These allegations clearly show that I and other commentators were the victims of this scheme. I knew absolutely nothing about any of this fraudulent activity, period. People of the Internet was a silly show covering viral videos, which ended 4 months ago. The DOJ has never contacted me regarding this matter, and I have no intention to comment further. Dave's statement was equally as boring as Benny's. He also says he has no idea about any of it, that he was not told, and that he will not comment any further. Now, though, we move on to the good one. Tim's statement is by far the best, and by that I mean it's so open to critique, it's unreal. And it goes something like this. My statement regarding allegations and the leaked DOJ indictment. Should these allegations prove true, I, as well as other personalities and commentators, were deceived and are victims. I cannot speak for anyone else at the company as to what they do or to what they are instructed. The Culture War podcast was licensed by TENET Media. It existed well before any licensing agreement with TENET, and it will continue to exist after any such agreement expires. The only change of the agreement was the location of the live broadcast moved to TENET's YouTube channel. Never at any point did anyone other than I have full editorial control of the show, and the contents of the show are often apolitical. Examples include discussing spirituality, dating, and video games. The show is produced in its entirety by our local team without input from anyone external to the company. TCW is a separate company not associated with timcast.com or other properties. It exists solely for the production of the Culture War podcast. That being said, we still do not know what is true, and these are only allegations. Putin is a scumbag, Russia sucks donkey balls, and to the journalists who wish to jump the gun, create their own narrative, or lie about what is currently going on, you can eat my Irish ass. I'm not gonna lie to you guys, that was a banger. The ending of "you can eat my Irish ass" is perfect, because if it turns out that Tim is lying, then it's possible he's gonna go to prison. And people are gonna eat his ass there, just not in the way that he wants, I think. In terms of the broader statement, then I mean it's pretty much a confirmation that the company in the indictment is in fact TENET, given the statements I've just read, and Timmy being seemingly unhappy with journalists lying is particularly interesting, given that that's solely what he's been doing for the past decade of his life. Also, the part where Tim claims that never anyone other than him have had the full editorial control is a bit of a curious one, because you see, as per the indictment itself, on February 15th, Afanasieva shared with TENET the video where Tucker Carlson went to Russia. Tim Pool got sent this video, presumably by Chen, where he says, I quote, "They want me to post this, but it just feels like overt shilling," to which he was informed that one of the founders believes it should be put out there, and Timmy acquiesced, responding with, "Alright, I'll put it out tomorrow." Now, I have a feeling that if during Discovery full communication release was to happen, we'd see plenty more examples of stuff like this. Now, if you want to believe that this is just an individual, sole, singular, just one time it happened, just one of the people did it, then, and you know, no more stuff like this exists, then you can do that. That's fucking naive, mate, and I'm not buying it. Here's why I'm making a video about this. Alongside being a DGer, a true empath, and a big dick swinger, what you might also want to know is that I am Polish. Now, I know what you're thinking, it would have been way cooler if I was in fact a fake VTuber boy that's a figment of your coping psyche in an ever sadder world, but alas, there's a pretty face on the other side of this pretty face. And, think about it this way, could have been way worse, as I could have been a Britbonger. Imagine that. But enough about me. Poland is this piece of hot ass right here, filled with amazing cuisine, beautiful women, and typical male pattern baldness, as well as a complicated history with Russia. A very complicated history with Russia. A land located about 1,264.4 kilometers away, going from Warsaw to Moscow. To my American friends, that's the distance of roughly 706.4 Tim pools. For me, that's quite the distance, but I do hear from Russian soldiers that there are a lot of attractions on the way from there to here in the form of plunder, murder and rape. The reason why I'm telling you this is because I want you to understand that when I call people like Tim Pool or Dave Rubin or Benny Johnson traitorous subhuman fucking scum, I mean it. I'm not saying that to virtue signal to you. Well, I mean maybe a spoonful, but generally speaking, I just want you to know that I despise these people in ways that make me wish I was creative enough with language to accurately describe. Another reason why I'm telling you this is because post-Soviet states have a little word in our lingo, which is vatnik. Now, simply put, this is a political pejorative used in Russia and other post-Soviet states for steadfast jingoistic followers of propaganda from the Russian government. That's the official definition. An easier way to remember what that means is that it's a word we use to refer to barely sentient troglodytes who believe what Kremlin tells them to believe. Here's the thing, chat. If you want to believe that they're innocent victims, that's up to you. I take issue with it for two reasons that work in tandem. First of all, becoming a political pundit is a statement of ego that more or less goes like this. I believe that I'm better at analysing political events than you are. My way of arriving at conclusions is ultimately superior to yours, and I will tell you who to vote for and what to think because I'm better at this than you are, and I know what's better for you than you do. You need to look no further than the Twitter feeds of any of these trogs, and you will see that I'm precisely correct. These people think that they're smarter than you, so I will hold them to a higher standard than I would hold anyone who doesn't think of themselves as so fucking high and mighty. Second of all, according to the indictment, TENET received approximately 9.7 million US dollarinos from Russia, which totaled approximately 90%, 90 that is, of all their bank deposits from all sources combined. We're talking about a 315,000 subscribers YouTube channel that averages measly 2 million views per month. You're telling me that multi-millionaire political gurus who have existed on YouTube in some cases for like over a decade now, who believe themselves capable enough to uncover the underlying truth in the clusterfuck of the world of political betrayals, and they have never stopped to wonder and think why they all have basically the same copied and pasted political takes regarding Russia while getting paid between $100,000 to $400,000 a pop from a YouTube channel that ain't doing very glonky to begin with? Are you shitting me? Another fascinating part about all of this is the behavior of the people surrounding what's going on and all the shit that people are uncovering in real time as well. Tim Pool's initial post where he referred to the indictment as leaked was community noted, so he deleted it and made a new one. Benny in that time also got community noted, as well as posted a bad edit from Avengers where Donald Trump is Captain America. Dave Rubin, I frankly got no clue what he's up to because I lost any shred of respect I had for him when he sat opposite Ben Shapiro, who looked him in the eye and said that in his ideal world, Dave's gay marriage wouldn't be legal, and Rubin, being a good little lackey aware of his place in the pecking order, just moved the fuck on like his entire existence wasn't just threatened. So fuck him. Also, who the fuck is against gay marriage in the 21st century? Find something modern to be upset about. Like the Minecraft movie, or trans people, I don't know. No statement from the Nazi queen, doom of all refugees so long as there's a flare gun nearby, so not much to say there. Elon Musk tweeted out like 82 times during this entire mess with practically no acknowledgement of the situation and definitely no proper statement, which is interesting given how keen he is to feed the pro-Russia sentiment, and this is obviously going to be a hot topic for the upcoming future, so at the very least we can take a little solace in knowing that Tenet Media is probably the only Russian front group. You know, Russia's known for putting all of their eggs in just one basket, so there's no need to suspect anyone else. Also, I wasn't even going to mention this because who the fuck cares at this point? But just listen to this.
What's your opinion on the solution to the Ukraine war?
Cut off the money. It's the only way you get them to the table, right? As long as, we're literally creating the oligarch class of billionaire in Ukraine with whatever's being siphoned off, whether it's Zelensky, whether it's this, while they send young men to die as cannon fodder on the front lines because they couldn't care less. It's fucking disgusting what's going on there, that it's allowed to happen, that we shut down anything. It's so obvious. Nothing's ever going to change there if the money keeps flowing. My father would have been like, hey, you got like one more month of this, and if you're not at the table, it's done.
Yeah.
Guess what? Zelensky wouldn't have a chance if we shut it down. So he'd come to the table, and they'd come up with something.
Absolutely.
Cut off the money because we're creating a billionaire class of oligarchs. For starters, the vast majority of aid to Ukraine is done through equipment, which was already produced and the money therefore was already spent on. The actual financial aid is done in the form of a loan, which is expected to be repaid. And even if that wasn't the case, then the decommissioning of this equipment would be more expensive than just giving it to Ukraine. Also, not for nothing, but Ukraine is doing fucking amazing, all things considered, and the next time anyone brings up innocent young men being sent to die on the front line, just remember that while Russian ground troops have no Kevlar or subpar weapons, the American TENET media bunch were paid $10 million to chat shit on the internet. At this stage, I have no clue how high it goes, but all of these pundits support Trump. Trump's policy on Ukraine is fucked, his own son is a moron as just pointed out, and so I'm assuming Kremlin's influence goes as far as assisting Trump. Say it with me, chat, if Russia wants your candidate to be elected, then he shouldn't be elected. At the end of the day, I don't know what will happen. I'm not a fortune teller. I think I'll just go through the list of anyone that the TENET group follows or is otherwise affiliated with the group and assume that they're all Russian ops. Tim Paul and the bunch are either genuine traitors, like capital T traitors, because they're whoring themselves out to Russia, or a useful idiot whose ignorance knows no bounds. I know for sure that I'll forever and ever use this DOJ indictment to discredit anything they have to say. I'm not sure what the rhetoric going forward will be like, but I'll be surprised if the current attempts at spinning this as Putin doesn't want Trump elected actually, because that somehow makes sense, are strengthened by people like Elon Musk. That being said, I do always feel strangely religious at times like these, because there's a moment of solace in thinking that, well, they might all get away with all of this subhuman bottom-of-the-barrel Vatnik scum will rot in hell. Speaking of treason and whatnot, you see, I myself am against capital punishment across the board because of how that type of legal system lends itself to corruption and, well, fascism. Do we think that Tim Paul's associates think the same? Let's find out together. So no fancy editing, let's just pay attention for 2 minutes.
We were talking about crime and punishment, and Donald Trump needs to go after these people. Laura was saying, take the gloves off, stop being nice to them, fuck them. And I said they should all be arrested. There should be lists. Laura said we should give anyone who committed treason the death penalty, and then the show gone. Because YouTube doesn't allow calls for the death penalty. That's why they deleted our episode of Alex Jones the first time it happened 3 years ago. And he didn't even say anything crazy. He said, I agree with Bill Gates. We should have firing squads. And he later was like, I meant vaccines, line them up, give them shots, get them. He was like I was making a joke. I was sarcastically saying.
I'm not going to pull an Alex Jones. I stand by everything I said. I'm not sorry for anything I said. I truly believe that there may be different interpretations of what it means to commit treason. I truly believe that the people who engaged in the coup against Donald Trump and have caused civil unrest and chaos in our country for the last 7 years through Crossfire Hurricane and also through these what I believe are illegal witch hunts against the president of the United States right now, unconstitutional witch hunts against Donald Trump. They are treasonous. They are traitors. They should get the death penalty when they are jailed in the next Trump administration. And I'm not going to apologize for what I said. I, was not trying to get your stream taken down, but my belief is held by millions of Americans. And
you're saying
I really do believe that
when they are arrested or when they're indicted, arrested,
and they have a trial,
and convicted.
Yes.
Should they be found to have committed treason by a jury of their peers, you say death penalty.
Absolutely.
Do you think...
Absolutely, 100%.
Obviously, Laura's a fucking lunatic, but I believe her. I do think that millions of people share her belief. Death penalty for treason, guys. What do you think she thinks about this entire situation? What word do you think she'd use for American media pundits being paid millions of dollars to spread Russian propaganda? Do we think Laura would stay consistent on this? Do we think that Tim is still laughing along? That'll be it for today. Drink plenty of water. Remember that Putin is a wanker, and I'll talk to you very soon. Special thanks to all of my supporters. You're the best. Bye now.
They know it. But I don't know that it matters anymore. This is psychotic. Ukraine is the enemy of this country. Ukraine is our enemy, being funded by the Democrats. I will stress this again. One of the greatest enemies of our nation right now is Ukraine. They are expanding this war. Now, don't get me wrong, I know. You've got criminal elements of the U.S. government pushing them and guiding them and telling them what to do. Ukraine is now accused, a German warrant issued for blowing up the Nord Stream pipeline. Triggering this conflict. Ukraine is the greatest threat to this nation and to the world. We should rescind all funding and financing, pull out all military support, and we should apologize to Russia.